What's going on, guys? It's B-Sauce, and today we're going to be talking about the death of the Bolsa Chica Wetlands BMX Trails in Huntington Beach, California. The what, the why, the how. But first, we're going to go over a little brief history of these trails and how they got started in the first place. So let's jump right in. Okay, so the wetland trails are located in the Bolsa Chica Wetlands in Huntington Beach, California, and they were built in the early 2000s sometime. But the original jumps in that area were actually built in the early 90s or maybe even the late 80s. These ones were across the channel next to the housing track, and the locals called this spot the dikes because the dirt embankments were also called dikes. I started riding there in 1996 on my GT Interceptor, and it quickly became a local. But we were so close to the housing track that those jumps got torn down all the time by residents and the city both. So we found a new spot from the houses and built back bigger and better this time. At the time, Slater Street was the closest entrance to the trail, so we named them Slater Trails. And they quickly became just as big, if not bigger, than Sheep Hills. We had them torn down a few times, but we always built them back bigger each time. Lots of pros started riding there, and we even made it on the cover of Snap magazine once or twice, too. We thought we finally had a permanent spot to ride. That is, until around 2006. That's when the wetlands went through that massive restoration project that basically flooded that entire area, and Slater Trails became extinct. This is when we migrated back across the channel and started experimenting with new spots. A few years passed, nothing notable being built, but after more riders started to hear about it and come back, a new spot was finally chosen, and that area quickly transformed into the biggest, smoothest, most legit jumps that have ever been built there. The trails quickly became known as the Wetland Trails, and ever since, these trails have been known to be some of the best dirt jumps in SoCal, and some of the most epic dirt jumping clips on the internet have been filmed there. Now, there's also been many rumors over the years about these trails being torn down or shut down that turned out not to be true. But this time, I think the trails really are on death row. This time, the courts are involved, so it looks like the real deal. Here's a clip from Anthony Napolitan's interview on RBMX explaining the details on how it all went down.
You were just talking about in the kitchen about how your main spot's pretty much gone, so riding dirt has been a
yeah.
problem.
Let's talk about
disappeared,
wetlands because I feel like that was a huge staple. Wetland session.
Look at that. This is the edit you guys did, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
This is a good edit.
If I finally got home, I'm literally parked in front of my garage, and my car's running, windows are up. I'm literally just texting on my phone, and I see this thing moving like on the side of my car through the window. I'm like, what the hell is that? I look over, and it's like this old man, and he looks lost, you know? So I roll my window down, and I'm like, hey man, are you all good? You know, you okay? And he's like, he walks up to my car and he just looks lost, man. Like, I was like, dude, what am I getting myself into, you know? And he pokes his head in, like, cause I cracked the window down, right? And then he kind of adjusts to get his eye like almost in the crack.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I think I'm lost. And I'm like, all right, well, who are you looking for? And he's like, are you Anthony? And I was like, yeah. And then he pulls out this big stack of papers and serves me.
Oh my God.
Weird.
Sneaky fuck.
Yeah, and I've never been served before.
Yeah. God, that would be so confusing.
It was, dude, I didn't know how to feel about it.
Yeah.
I want to like kick, drop kick the dude, but at the same time he was old. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
He's only doing his job. But
What does that even mean, being served?
Yeah.
So basically they serve you court ordered legal documents for stuff. So it could be a cease and desist, or maybe you're getting served because you haven't paid like your child support or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Someone's coming after you legally, basically. So
they pay these guys they certify that you had it in your
Yes,
hands, and
exactly.
now you know.
Yeah.
Their job is
Yeah.
to make sure you
Yeah.
get it.
So long story short, because in this packet of information that they give me, it's a lot of information. It's email chains, like a whole bunch of stuff going on between the plaintiff and the lawyers and this and that. So I had all these emails. So I had to just read through all this stuff, and basically what I gathered from the whole experience was the landowner of the property who like we all had a handshake deal with
Yeah.
about building and riding there.
That was
and
my
whatever.
question, because when I talked to you about it, everything was cool. The guy was down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super cool for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I built there for like 10 years up to that point.
And they had been there for a long time.
for longer than that.
Yeah.
Since the 90s.
20 years.
There's like my buddy Taka has photos from like way back when like S&M had little tents set up and there were like 3 jumps there. They've been there forever, you know? So he passed away, the landowner, and this is based off what I've read and maybe I'm assuming on some things, but I'm pretty certain, like I'm pretty good at reading the room or the documents. And I think that's what happened. So, he passed away and the property fell into a family trust. I know that for sure, that the property fell into a family trust. So once that happened, that's when the lawyers got involved. They were like, we need to clip all this stuff that's happening out there, blah, blah, blah. So
they're probably saying, hey, this is a huge fucking liability for you guys.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm not actually sure how, like what drew their attention to it or what, because we stay pretty quiet down there.
Yeah.
Like the trails would stay locked up. People knew when we were riding, anyone could come out, but for safety purposes and per request of the landowner at the time, like he just wanted stuff to be kind of locked up so nothing bad would happen there.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We kept things locked up. We did weekly trash sweeps on the place because the place was disgusting when we started working on the trails originally. Bums everywhere, garbage everywhere. Just, it was not a good scene. So we cleaned up the place over the years, you know, and the landowner was thankful for that. Every time I'd see him once or twice a year. He'd come out, he'd walk his dog, whatever. He lived in Colorado. He lived in California. He was like back and forth a bunch. Anyways, so they wanted to shut the trails down or whatever. So I had to hire a lawyer, and
it's crazy they went straight to litigation, like straight to
seriousness.
seriousness.
So what ended up happening was they were sending me cease and desist. But I wasn't receiving them. They were going to a prior address that I hadn't lived at. It was actually 2 prior addresses.
Oh.
So they were sending cease and desist to addresses that I no longer lived at.
Okay.
And I just wasn't getting them. So after no response of cease and desist, then they turned it into like a legal thing.
Okay.
I
That
guess.
makes a little more sense. Yeah.
So basically I had to hire a lawyer, and I kind of asked the lawyer, I was like, you know, should we fight this? He's like, no. He's like, you don't want to mess with these people. Yeah. Like and the paperwork alone was like intimidating as hell. You know, like I was going to have a heart attack almost.
Yeah.
So anyways, everything ended up being cool. I really only just had to pay for the lawyer, and that wasn't like a huge cost by any means.
So when you get these papers, first question, do you still go ride the trails? You go, oh, thanks for this paperwork. Now I'm going to go ride the trails.
No, I was scared pretty stiff after that.
And then second question is, why did they specifically target you? Why didn't they just destroy the jumps?
So based off the emails, they targeted me because I was the
figurehead in a sense,
most easily identifiable person to go there. Obviously, like based off social media, whatever, I probably posted something there daily. You know what I mean? So I was the most easily identifiable person. So then they were trying to hunt me down, and this is where a lot of the email exchanges came in, because they're like, we can't find this guy, he vanished. And it's just so funny to me.
Over the top.
It's so over the top when all they had to do was get on Instagram and type in my name and be like, oh no, he's in Virgin, Utah. On the,
or here's a DM, hey, we've been trying to get a hold of you. Can
something. I don't know.
Give me a call.
Live in the legal system's not living in the whatever century we're in. 21st century. I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, long story short, I basically had to post a written statement to all of my social media platforms. Like anything that I have a username under, I had to post this thing. And it was like a statement that they wrote out, and it was like a really funny statement because they were saying dirt bikes and like all it was just so you could tell.
Did you quote it, or did you actually make it seem like it was from you?
No, I had to quote it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to legally.
Yeah,
right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Recently come to my attention that the vacant property near Bolsa Chica, and sometimes referred to as Wetlands, is privately owned. The owners have indicated that those using the property will be prosecuted for trespassing, and the commission has indicated that the continued use of the property by dirt biking will constitute a violation of the Coastal Act. Accordingly, I will not be using this site in the future for dirt bike jumps or any purpose whatsoever, and I urge all of my followers to also refrain from going upon the property for biking or any other purpose. That is a funny statement.
Yes. Post with
what's the threat? Like, if you don't do this, we're going to like sue you.
Yeah. So for me, the terms were I could never step foot on the property ever again.
Yeah.
And if I did, they were going to move forward with legal stuff. And then my lawyer was telling me that they weren't even going to close the case. They were going to leave it open ended so that if something were to happen there or whatever, they take on some costs tearing the jumps down or whatever unfathomable event could happen there.
Yeah.
They kind of wanted to have someone to fall back on to blame. And I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I'm agreeing to all this stuff. I'm doing all this stuff. Like, just close the case, you know? So for a long time, I didn't think they were going to close the case. And then one day my lawyer hit me up. He's like, hey, congratulations. They officially closed the case. Like, wipe your hands free of all the drama and whatever you're holding on to, you know?
So after hearing about this, I definitely had to check it out for myself. And this video was taken January 2nd, 2023. Trails are still here, but no one's taking care of them. No one's riding them. I think this is really it, folks. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually come and tear them down physically, though this might be the last time you can actually see them. Rest in peace, Wetlands Trails.